In episode number 359 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover the latest previews catalog.
We also have the expansion on one of Kelly's favorite comic book-based TV shows. Lucifer Season 6 is getting even more episodes.
And our comic book highlight this week is Batman Last Night on Earth number 2.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am Kelly.
And I am Sailor Daniel.
Sailor Daniel.
I'm like a more useful version of Tuxedo Mask.
What?
The most useful version, useful member on the Sailor Scouts.
Oh, with it now. See, I'm just thinking of those, like, pot-belly guys from the game with, like, their stomachs sticking out of the bottom of their shirts.
I mean, those are probably what the trainer classes are, but I'm choosing not to. I'm choosing to instead be a better Tuxedo Mask.
Fighting evil with Bulbasaur.
Yes.
He also really likes Chansey.
To any new Brokettes, the way we format the show is first we go through some news. We head into the Patreon shoutouts of the week. We're going to do the What's New on Netflix as well. We're going into the comic book highlight. And finally, we end it with the Brokette block, which is where Papa Kelly and I have been.
But to kick off some news, we have something from my favorite director, Guillermo del Toro, getting stopped again. His dreams are always getting stopped, and it's not even fair.
Before Hellboy received its recent movie reboot, Guillermo tried to release his proposed Hellboy 3 film as a comic book.
Do it. Brilliant.
Well, Hellboy creator/owner Mike Mignola wouldn't allow it, unfortunately.
I don't allow him to own Hellboy anymore.
You've decided this. You've taken this away from him. All the rights are now Palpa Kelly's.
I got the Palpa rights.
Mignola told Screen Rant, quote, "I think Del Toro mentioned it to me once and I said no. I think let the comics be the comics. Comics are confusing enough for people. Let's not have two different versions of the Hellboy comic out there," end quote.
Now, realistically, Guillermo probably went to him and said something like, "I want to turn my movie into a comic, but I need a $3 million budget." And then they told him no.
Well, I don't think Mignola is giving comic readers enough credit because we don't only read Hellboy. We know that there are different versions of every dead or alive character out there in comic books. Every single thing that ends up on that page is going to have a different version. And I think especially if you title it Hellboy 3, the movie adaptation, it's going to do fine. I really don't know why he wouldn't allow it. The only thing is maybe he would have gotten a bigger contract out of this recent Hellboy reboot, which he did have a lot of support behind. He was constantly talking about how great this movie was going to be.
Of course.
That maybe he didn't want that to interfere with that upcoming reboot. So I don't know if eventually we'll see it, but him saying having two different versions out there is too confusing for people sounds like bullshit to me.
That's probably what they told him to say.
Do you have any guesses as to why Mignola may not have wanted that?
Because Guillermo wanted a $3 million budget to make the comic. It was probably something contractually, right? Like, realistically, he maybe didn't want it to pull away from the movie, or with that movie, you know, coming out, getting signed on, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I get that this all happened before that, right? But he probably knew there was still a possibility. But the fact that he says, I think he mentioned it once, maybe made it sound like he didn't pitch it as well as he could have either. So there's a bunch of different things. I don't know. If it releases, obviously I'm going to pick it up because Guillermo's my man.
Yeah, hopefully we do see it one day.
I still want to see his Haunted Mansion because I think that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, that never happened. He dropped out of that, just like he does a lot of projects. And Haunted Mansion is unfortunately yet another thing that we did not see from him.
So while we don't get to see many things from Guillermo, it looks like Star Trek's Picard is showing us a lot more than we expected.
Yes, we are getting more Picard, but we're also getting more Picardo, as Robert Picardo, who played EMH and Dr. Zimmerman in Star Trek Voyager, is in talks to return for Season 2 of Picard, so making his long-awaited re-debut, I guess, after many years of non-Star Trek in Picard. So this is kind of like a celebration of that whole era of TV shows.
For those of you who don't know what EMH stands for, it is not Extra Magic Hours. We are not going to Disney World. It's Emergency Medical Hologram. So he played the holographic doctor. I only knew him as the doctor, so whoop.
Well, quote here from Picardo goes, quote, I am pleased that they, CBS, have expressed interest in me. They have reached out to my agent about next season, so I'm looking forward to seeing what it is. As you know, I played 2 characters, primarily the Doctor, but also Louis Zimmerman, end quote.
It would be interesting if he comes back as a holographic doctor. How do you explain that he aged too?
Do you think maybe then they would use anti-aging sort of technology or some of the footage from the old TV show to kind of put him in there?
Just make him old and be like, I wanted to age with the rest of you.
I never finished Voyager, but did they ever make him a real part, like a real person?
I don't remember, and I don't want to be dumb and be like, yeah, they did, because it could have been like 9-year-old me making up fan fiction in my head. I don't know. I
think I remember him also showing up in one of the Next Gen movies as kind of like a cameo appearance, so I don't think it's the first time that they would have crossed over as far as Next Gen and Voyager. And I think even in Voyager, they had some characters from Next Generation show up anyway. But it's nice that they're reaching out to Picardo, who I know him as the gym coach from the Wonder Years.
Yes.
When we met him at MegaCon many years ago, yeah, he had all the Star Trek stuff. But I said, do you have any Coach Cutlip from the Wonder Years? And he's like, I do, actually. He reached into the bag of non-displayed pictures and he pulled out Coach Cutlip. It was great. It was like he signed it like work hard, stay strong. And then Robert Picardo, really nice guy.
He was. It's been years. Oh man, I don't even know how long it's been since we've met him. But yeah, that was a really cool experience because I grew up knowing him as the holographic doctor, right, from Voyager. And I always thought it was unfair that he just had to be a hologram and he couldn't find true love or something.
I think that's what it was, yeah.
Right. But like now I'm older and I'm like, but he's a hologram. Like he doesn't think that way. He doesn't care. But they made him so realistic.
It's only sweetening the deal for Picard and the future of Picard.
Listen, I was excited for this show before they even added all these people. Like, you just had Picard, fine, I'll watch it. Just, like, him just sitting on the deck, right? Whatever. In his office, drinking tea. But yeah, now they're adding all my favorite characters and all these people, and I'm even more sold.
Well, the deal gets even sweeter because Lucifer's upcoming 5th season, while it is its last, they are extending it to 6 more episodes. I think in the opening I said season 6, but it's actually the season 5, but they're adding 6 more episodes.
I had to do the Lucifer song, I'm sorry.
You're a Lucy fan.
I'm such a Lucy fan. I'm like the biggest Lucy fan. That's a lie. I'm not the biggest Lucy fan. But I'm so excited. I saw this. You tagged me on Twitter, and I was like, hell yes. Ha! See what I did there? Hell yes.
Can't believe I saw it before you did.
You did.
That's insane.
Because remember my phone factory reset? And so I didn't have Twitter on there. So it wasn't letting me know every time Tom Ellis posted something like it normally does.
Well, now you're getting 16 episodes instead of 10.
I'm so excited for this. It's perfect. I they didn't say the reason for the changes, right? Hopefully they came out with a story and they're like, yes, this is great. Let's extend it. Tom Ellis was saying he did appreciate, and I don't know if he had to say this, right? He was appreciating the shorter seasons because before they used to be like 20-something episodes a season. So you'd have to put in a lot of filler to get to the story. And he's like, with 10, we can just get through the story, right? Here's where we're going. We got it. So I don't know if he just had to say that, right? But I'm excited. I'm ready.
He probably gets paid per episode, just like a lot of these actors do for these seasons, and he sounded like he was really excited on Twitter. Do you know if they've already started production on this new season?
I don't know. I haven't been following it closely enough. I'm sure he will definitely let us know. He gives us all these updates, but he just got married. So I don't know if they're in like a long break, right? And that's why he planned his wedding for them. And then he's got to he says he's old now, so he has to like really watch his diet and do all this exercise. And he says it's terrible. It's like the worst thing ever.
That's what Momoa was saying too. Like when they were filming or getting ready for Justice League, I don't know if it was him or one of the other actors that equated it to torture. Because it is hard work, and the pay some days I'm sure isn't worth it. But right now we have no release date for this final season. Catch up on Netflix though. You had said before all the seasons are up there.
Yep, they're all up there. If you've already watched them, watch them again. I'm sad you fell off that show because it was so good. It's still so good.
I'm glad you're liking it. I'm glad you are. Something I am nervous about, though, even though we're going to be there on day one and the DCEU has been changed forever, but it continues. New Gods co-writer/director Ava DuVernay confirmed on Twitter that the female Furies and Darkseid will be in the film.
It doesn't say in what capacity.
No, I mean, it's obvious news. You have the New Gods. You got to have Apocalypse and a lot of these essential characters. But I'm still saying that it's not going to be anything like what they had in Zack's vision of Justice League or in the Snyder Cut.
No, but at the same time, it could also be like his silhouette way over there.
You don't think we're going to see Darkseid? There's no way they don't show us Darkseid.
Yeah, but again, he doesn't necessarily have to have a large role. He doesn't have to be an integral piece, right? He could even be in a flashback and not really, like, oh, okay, here's, they traded sons or whatever the hell they're going to do, wherever they're going to start with that, right? And he could just be a flashback and you see him handing off the baby and that's all you see of him. Like, it doesn't, I don't know. I'm hopeful we don't see a lot of him.
So you don't want to see a lot of Darkseid?
No, because I don't know. I hope that they make the best decision possible for the movie and the universe. But I feel like we've gotten our hopes so high with all the Snyder stuff, and it's not going to be that.
Do you think this New Gods film existing is a move against them not needing, no interest to release the Snyder Cut? Because now you have the story of Darkseid coming to Earth, failing, and that already changes what happened in Justice League. Do you think that then says, well, we're going to use these characters in the New Gods, so why release this version of Justice League and kind of muddy up the I guess, continuity?
I don't think so, because I feel like they're two different entities, and nobody ever is going to sit there and say, well, I saw this random-ass director's cut of this movie. Like, the people going to see the Snyder Cut are the people who want to see the Snyder Cut. It's not going to be people who are going to confuse it with what happens in New Gods.
Like the general audience, right?
Right. And nobody's going to randomly stumble upon the Snyder Cut and then watch New Gods and be like, oh, but I thought this happened. No, zero people are going to do that. If DC or Warner Brothers says that that's why they don't do it, they're fucking lying. They're cheating. Go find out what they're doing.
Either way, it'll be bittersweet. If it's a great movie, it'll still be like, yeah, that's awesome. That's great. And it would have been neat to also see what could have been, because from what we're understanding now, when we would have seen Wonder Woman decapitate Steppenwolf and his body would have gone into the boom tube, his head would have rolled at Darkseid's feet. And Ray Porter was saying on Twitter, not confirming this, but hypothetically, if that had happened, I like to think that Darkseid would have had his foot on Steppenwolf's head as he saw the Justice League and the boom tube closed. But that's just hypothetically.
I have
and it's
chills.
like, holy shit.
I have chills right now.
We would have seen Desaad. That one was confirmed already, but they said, and other people. So they're saying maybe even Granny Goodness would have been there, and maybe some of the other New Gods that we're now going to see in the New Gods film. So I hope that at least some of those designs do get translated into this new movie. I doubt it. I think they're going to go way more traditional than what the concepts we saw. And I don't know if Patrick Tatopoulos also worked on those, but if he did, these were definitely a little bit more horror inspired than comic books, while still being inspired by the comics.
We'll find out. Like you said, we will be there day one, our butts in the seats.
And because San Diego Comic-Con did happen last week, a lot of these companies blew their load on the news, as you guys may have heard last week. So news is a little bit lighter, but we do have some Brocat questions. We've got some stuff that happened this week, such as Fire Emblem, which I did get my hands on and did play some. But it is that first week of the month. What's new on Netflix? The August 2019 highlights.
So keep in mind, this is not everything that's showing up on there. This is just what interests us, what pertains to maybe some of the things we talk about on the show. So you can find the full list. Just go to Google, type in what's new on Netflix, August 2019.
First one I have on the highlights is Groundhog Day from Bill Murray. And this was a 90s movie. I watched it as a kid. Like, it's one of those, it's not really a kid's movie, but right. I really enjoyed it.
I mean, you watched a lot of things that weren't really kids' movies.
That's true. I still haven't shown you Groundhog Day, right?
Nope, never
seen it. I feel like
it.
The last time we did the Netflix highlights with this on the list, I told you we needed to watch it. And we even made some very light plans to sit down and watch it. But we just haven't, and I do want to actually catch it this time. I think you would like it. There is a love story somewhere in there among the goofiness, and Bill Murray's signature comedy is also pretty much throughout the whole thing.
We will definitely have to catch it this round. Next up, we have Rocky 1 through 5.
That's another one. Rocky 1 I wanted to watch with
Never
you.
Seen it.
It's a really solid movie and one to definitely catch before you die. It was one of those where the scene that he has with Adrian, their budget was destroyed. Like, it was cut where they thought we might not be able to finish this movie. So they did that scene with Adrian, I believe, in one take. And he had been so miserable and nervous, Stallone had, that he got drunk before doing that scene. So when you watch it, he is drunk, but it worked out. It's actually one of the better scenes in the movie. Really solid. And then 2 through 5, there's some moments in every one of those that's like, yeah, that's really neat. 1 is awesome, though. It's a classic.
Next on the list, we have Something's Gotta Give.
This is another one I saw in high school, and it's Jack Nicholson, and I think Diane Lane. Maybe not Diane Lane. I forgot who the other actor is, but I watched it for Jack Nicholson. I like the man. He's awesome, but it is an old people love story.
I love old people love stories. Oh, wait. Is that the one where he's dating the woman's daughter and then he has a heart attack while they're like getting busy? And then I saw part of it at my parents' house because they were watching it. I'm like, what is this? And they like told me the plot of it. And I'm like, that sounds real creepy.
And he falls in love with the mom instead. Yeah, it's I think it's cool. Like, I liked it in high school.
Why are you watching that in high school?
Because I like Jack Nicholson.
Okay. My parents really liked it, but I mean, they like old people love stories.
You might like it. I don't know. It's kind of good. I also have Glow Season 3, which has a comic book that's doing okay. It's not one of the better Netflix comic books. I don't think the audience has really moved over to comics, which is really interesting because the wrestling community does have their hand in comics. You find a lot of wrestling fans also read books, but I think that the Glow audience isn't exactly a wrestling fan audience. I think it's more of a, hey, what's on Netflix? That looks kind of neat. It's stylized and it's a lot of, girl power, and that hasn't quite yet picked up with the books.
Next up, we have iZombie Season 5. This is the final season.
Considering jumping right in just to see how it ends, but from the beginning, it's very different from the comic book. In the comics, you have werewolves and vampires, and as far as we got, they hadn't quite introduced any of that, but it was still a solid show.
We enjoyed it. It got kind of weird. What season did we stop? Like 3?
Yeah, I think it was 3.
I just wanted to find out what happened with like her now zombie ex-fiance.
Oh, yeah. I didn't like him.
I know. You call them what, like Deckard?
Fucking Deckard.
You call them all Deckard. What do you call Decker from Lucifer?
Deckard as well. He's Decker, but he's Deckard. Like, it's pretty much fucking Deckard.
Deckard's the lady.
Oh, well, yeah, but that's his last name, isn't it?
No, it's her last name.
Well, he's Deckard too. It doesn't matter.
He's just Dan. I don't know his last name. Dan Newland or something. It's not Newland. That's the big forehead guy on the billboard.
Right here in Florida. Yeah, every state has their local lawyer, and that's ours. It's a giant forehead on him, and one of the billboards, they had to expand the billboard to fit his giant forehead.
the middle of his face and then his forehead on the top of the billboard.
Another one on this list is Rocko's Modern Life, Static Cling. We are finally getting it after years of, is it coming to Nickelodeon? Is it not? It's coming to Netflix this month.
Who cares?
I fucking care. I can't wait to talk about it here on the podcast.
You can talk about it alone.
The other one is The Punisher, the 2004 movie with Thomas Jane and John Travolta's the villain.
What? What?
I saw this, I think also, I was in high school at that time, and I remember thinking it was all right. It's a PG-13 Punisher, which was pretty controversial at the time because it's the Punisher. It should be rated R. Mm-hmm. And then the sequel, which was Warzone, is actually a R-rated movie. I never saw it. They were saying it's really good. It was directed, I forgot her name. I think it was a foreign director, but that one is the one that they're saying this is the Punisher movie. Years later, Thomas Jane made a case for a proper Punisher sequel or Punisher movie starring himself, in which it's called Dirty Laundry. You can find it on YouTube now, but it's a short film, almost like a, hey man, we can actually do this. And unfortunately, nothing ever came out of it, but it was Thomas Jane really giving it his all as a true R-rated Punisher.
The last thing on our list for what's new on Netflix for this month is Gangs of New York.
With Daniel Day-Lewis, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Cool.
This is the one in which Daniel Day-Lewis, because he's a method actor, he has a glass eye, his character does in the movie. So he learned how to tap his eye with a knife without blinking or without,
flinching
at all.
Yeah.
Because his character does that in the movie, or he makes his character do that when he talks about the glass eye. So in the movie, when he does it, it's just him regularly doing it. He also had a fever. He was sick. It was something terrible.
Like pneumonia or something, right?
Yes, it was pneumonia. He had pneumonia,
Ugh.
and he refused to get care or get treated because back then they didn't really have any of that.
No.
So for a lot of the movie...
You could die, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, he didn't care, though. It's for the art. This is why he probably retired from acting.
Because he almost died of pneumonia.
Yeah. And it's probably not the only time. My favorite movie by Daniel Day-Lewis is still There Will Be Blood. Mm-hmm. Excellent movie. It's so good. And that's another one in which in the scene he's supposed to be seeing oil coming off the ground. And what he did is he stayed in a room in the dark and stared at darkness for hours just to get that look of what it would look like if you're just staring at black, just like his character would, who loves oil. He loves that money. And that's the look that you see in the movie as he's staring at this oil. It's an amazing performance, and Gangs of New York is no exception either.
That man's crazy.
A little bit. A little bit.
Oh my God. Anyway, that wraps up what's new on Netflix. August 2019. Again, this is not the full list. This is what we're interested in, what pertains to us. You, of course, can go online and find out the full list with the dates that they're appearing. Before
our next segment, which is the comic book highlight, we need to thank the Brokettes that make this show possible. It is the Patreon shoutouts of the week.
This week, we have 5 shout-outs. First one goes out to Alexander, whose Twitter handle is @SwordfishShow, or you can find him at purpleswordfish.com.
Al put up an EA Access trial stream for Madden 2020, and he is going to start streaming more Madden this week at the earliest.
Cool.
And I know that's when a lot of his followers definitely especially support the streams that have Madden content, but he has done World of Warcraft, and he also has a podcast that I really enjoy. I really like it. It's called the Dead Channel Duo Podcast. He does that with Andy, and that's where they do talk about sports, video games, movies. They do DCD Film Club, in which every week they review a different movie as voted on by Patreon backers or by Andy or Al. So definitely check him out. If you head on over to purpleswordfish.com, it will take you straight to his YouTube channel.
Next on the list, we have Lourdes and Katie.
Katie shared an image of the Deathstroke prototype suit that is going to appear in Titans Season 2. It is the scaly type of first appearance suit with the giant pirate boots, I'm guessing, is what they're going to have in there. They better have them. But it also looks kind of like the New 52 outfit, in which they did bring back that scale look on Deathstroke, and it looks awesome. They're saying it's a prototype suit, so we'll probably see something a little bit more modern like what he wears now in the comic books. But it's neat that they took that old look and also gave it like its homage and its moment in the TV show. So I'm excited to see that in season 2.
Next on the list, we have Bobby, whose Twitter handle is @CubanSlim.
Bobby got his invitation to Pokemon Worlds. There is a broquette that is going to be a judge at Pokemon Worlds. It is incredible. He worked hard for it. He deserves it. I thought you were gonna lyric it up.
You're gonna what?
Lyric it up.
Lyric it up. Oh no, that's too much work. I already made like one great song. I've reached my limit. I've reached my palpa limit.
Congratulations, Bobby. Honestly, that is amazing, and you'll probably see world streams for Pokemon TCG, and he'll be there judging. He's already shown up in the streams, so
that's so
be sure
cool.
to tune in when Pokemon Worlds happens.
Do they have special merchandise there?
They do, yeah.
Special Pikachu merchandise?
Oh, I'm sure they do. You'll have to contact Bobby and see what he can find. He actually brought back from Nationals or Regionals. I forgot which one it is. Might be Nationals. But the little Gengar statue where he's got a shadow ball that he's shooting out. It was awesome. Thank you, Bobby, for taking the time to show that. And also the Gengar plush, he brought that over as well. And I really appreciate it. It's a great showpiece.
Next on our list, we have Neil, whose Twitter handle is @inmats68.
He tweeted out, quote, "Renaming @Spider-Man movie Spider-Sense for laughs is pretty dumb. However, the way he uses his power in the movie is pretty cool. Not a bad movie overall. I hope they continue to showcase his scientific intelligence," end quote.
Is that where they renamed it the Peter Tingle or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of, even people that like the movie are like, I don't know. I was listening to the Film Exiles podcast, and they were reviewing the movie, and he had some MCU sheep on there who even them were like, yeah, even as a Spider-Man fan, there's a lot in here that bugs me, but overall they enjoyed it.
Bug.
And it sounds like Neil liked it as well, so I'm glad Neil enjoyed it. We're not watching it, obviously, because I'm done with the MCU at least, but good to know that he liked it, and it sounds like other Spider-Man fans liked it as well.
And our final shout out this week goes out to John, whose Twitter handle is @John72Tex or Instagram @Johnny2Chips.
John shared his 9.0 CGC graded copy of Mr. Miracle number 4, which, as we spoke about the New Gods earlier, it's the first appearance of Big Barda.
Crazy!
We're going to see Big Barda on the big screen. She better be giant. She better be towering over Mr. Miracle.
You think so?
Just like in the comics, yeah.
She's not like that much bigger than him.
Pretty big.
All right. But I'm happy they make their love work. They're happy together, clearly.
So nice comic to own, John. He has some very key issues in his collection. Make sure to check out his Instagram @Johnny2Chips. And huge thanks to everyone else as well, including Neil, Bobby, Lourdes, and Katie, and Alexander for your Patreon support.
If you too would like your shout out every single month for as little as $1 a month, is 25 cents an episode, you too can be a Patreon backer. You can help make this show what it is every single week.
And if you want to join our chat, our ongoing chat where you can talk to other brokettes, head on over to our Discord lounge. There is a link in today's episode and every episode on Twitter as well, and on our website. Just click on the Discord link and you can join the chat and talk to all of us where we discuss comics, movies, TV, film with other brokettes.
And if you want to talk to me, make sure to @PalpaKellyMe because I don't see it otherwise.
Let's head into our comic book highlight of the week.
As we said in the very beginning, today we will be reviewing Batman Last Night on Earth, number 2 of 3.
This is a DC Black Label title written by Scott Snyder, art by Greg Capullo, and colors by FCO Plasencia.
I feel like it's been a long time since we got the first one. Is that true? Does it just feel like a long time?
No, it's been about a month and a half, because since then the second printings for number 1 have released. And those have, of course, I sold out of those, reordered those, so I have a couple more copies left at the shop. But yeah, it feels like it's been almost 2 months. It might even be a bi-monthly title.
Gotcha. That was tough for me because, and again, a lot goes on in my life, my daily life, right? But I felt a little lost. Like by the end of the book, I remembered everything that had happened in the first one, but it still wasn't as smooth of a read as I would have liked because my brain's still working overtime. Like, okay, so what is this referencing? What happened in the last one?
There's a lot of setup in the second issue where I'm like, there's really only one left after this.
How are they going to wrap it up?
Because the first one is settling you into this future. The second one is that journey of him discovering how the world got this way, the fight between Luthor and Superman. And it's like, all right, we got one issue left and we're going to wrap this up. How the hell is that going to happen? I think it's going to leave off on a non-ending, to be honest with you. And I know it's Greg and Scott's last Batman book together. But now, I'm still like, all right, even though these are oversized, how are you really going to end this?
That fight with Luthor and Superman was stupid. I was so mad at Luthor. I was like, get out of here.
What'd you think of the issue overall?
I enjoyed it. Again, it feels like there's too much left to be solved, right? In the last one. And of course, they're going to wrap it up and it'll be great, I hope. I don't know. I hope Batman doesn't wake up and be like, it's a dream. There were some really heartbreaking moments. Again, the fight with Superman and Luthor and how, that ended was pretty rough. The moments with Alfred, like that last moment was really rough because he was just like at peace, right? And so no matter who this villain is, which I'm sure we can all guess.
Well, we're saying it's Omega, but do you think it's Bruce? He even says, it's me, right? You guys know? So now I'm thinking, okay, so it's not going to be Bruce Wayne.
No, it can't be Bruce, but it's somebody that Bruce knows. It's somebody who was close to Bruce. So I don't know. We'll find out. I gotta think some more. I'm thinking of some whiny ass Robin.
I don't think it's Jason Todd. It's not Dick Grayson.
You think
Do you
it could
think
be
it could be Damian? I don't know.
Maybe. Somebody. It's probably somebody we're not even expecting, but it's somebody close to Batman, right? But they still had that care for Alfred to make sure that in his last moments, like, yeah, he killed Alfred, but Alfred believed that he had saved the family. And that was the last thing he saw before the end. And I was like, thanks for being kind to my Alfred.
Assuming that that's what happened. I mean, we could still see him and maybe it's clear enough that that is it for Alfred, but
no, because he was on the River Styx. Remember, they were going through hell and Alfred was there.
Yeah, but it's magic, so whatever. The other thing too that I thought was neat for DC fans is that there's a lot of fan service in this one issue where you have the green, you have the red, you have the talk of the Phantom Stranger. It's like everything has its place in this post-apocalyptic DC world.
It's all been destroyed, but they're letting us know that it's all there.
Yeah, and they even talk about the imps as well, and it's like, okay, we passed cartoons in the imp world, so everything has its own. The Fortress of Solitude has expanded, and it's really neat, even though it is kind of fan service-y, but it's like you don't mind because you like that each region
it all
is
fit
sort
together.
of settled. Yeah.
But it all really fit together, and the way that they weave the story, right, where it's the Joker's head in the jar telling it and saying, we went past this and we went past that, and we, all these different things, but he didn't stop. He kept going, right? So, yeah, then you could be like, oh, I know that. Cool.
Was it kind of weird being in the head of Joker as he's telling the story for this comic? Because he's completely sane and he's straight.
Not really. I thought it was kind of cool that we get to see a different side of Joker because he is a really complex character, really deep down, right? And so we're getting to see Batman from his point of view, and you can really tell he kind of admires Batman and his tenacity and his will to just go and get stuff done and make it all right, and realize that Batman's really the only person who cares enough to do these kind of things.
They haven't yet explained how the Joker is still alive and talking in this jar. Do you think we're going to get that answer? Do you think it matters? Do you think the ending is going to go, oh, right, well, this is all magic, or this is all pretend, or this is all a vision?
I want to say that I think that we're going to get the answer, but that's mostly because I hope that we get the answer. And that, at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters because there's so many weird, fucked up things in this world that we're never really going to get the answers for.
Just like the Flash is.
Right.
Being stuck in that tornado.
Right. And we're never going to get the answers for that, right? We're never going to maybe never going to see the conclusion of that. And so I don't think it really matters that the Joker's head is in the jar. It would be interesting, though, if maybe the reason is, they say that this Omega person is taking away all these things from the villains that would get in the way, right? So, like Bane, you can shoot him a bunch of times and nothing happens because he's pretty much just Venom now,
right,
or whatever. The Scarecrow is like just Toxin. So it would be interesting if whoever is Omega hated the Joker so much that he just stuck him in a jar. And he's like, you don't get to do anything. Like, here's your head in a jar, banished him to the desert, gone, because he was just so over him, but still found a way to keep him alive, to pretty much torture him, right? Because he would just be stuck in the desert.
Without an audience.
Right, without an audience forever. And it would be really cool if that was his mindset. That's maybe I just wrote the book. Oh my God, we're never going to get the ending. So that would be my explanation for it. I would love to see an explanation for it. But again, this post-apocalyptic world, there's so many fucked up things. If they never give us an explanation, it really doesn't matter. He's mostly there to help drive the story.
It'll be interesting to see how this all ends. And
in 2 months.
Depending how it happens, we may or may not review it. But so far, we've reviewed the first two. Let us know on Twitter if you want us to finish it off with the final third issue.
Next up on our list, we have this month's Previews catalog.
So the Previews catalog comes out once a month. It is normally $3.99. But it is essentially a Christmas catalog for comic books.
The Toys R Us Christmas catalog.
This is where comic shops do their ordering. This is where a lot of subscribers do their ordering, where you will see these series solicited officially. You'll see variants ahead of time. You can pre-order them. And typically by the 15th of the month is when the orders are due at your local comic book shop, depending on which store you're at. Sometimes it's the 20th. But it is one of the best weeks when the Previews catalog does come out. It is something that Kelli and I go through, and we're happy to share a lot of the neat things that we saw on there that we might order or that you should definitely know about.
There's so many cool things in here. I am actually drinking out of a cup that we ordered from the Previews catalog. I have a brand new keychain that just came in, which is so cool.
Which keychain and which mug?
So my mug it was a set of 2 mugs, and one says "After All This Time," and it's got the Deathly Hallows symbol on it. And the other cup, the matching cup, has a deer and it says "Always." And because we love Snape so much, that's what we got. But every time we have to drink out of the cups together, right? It can never just be one of us. So we enjoyed our coffee tonight. We each had a mug, but you always have to have the "Always" mug because you say you're Snape and I have to be stupid Dumbledore.
I got the better mug.
Whatever. Anyway, and then my keychain is a little capsule from Capsule Corps from Dragon Ball Z, and you got it, and I was like, this is really cool. If it opens, I'm gonna cry, and it opens. So I can put little things inside of it.
Have you decided what you're gonna put in there yet?
I want a little Vegeta. You gotta find me a little tiny Vegeta, this big. It's gotta be super tiny so you can fit inside. Or maybe some weed. I don't know. Just drugs. I'm not really gonna put weed in it, guys.
Well, neat merch like that is what you will find in this Previews, and I've got my long list. I have a lot of comics.
That's a huge list. I couldn't even read it all.
I don't know if you want me to go through all of the DC stuff first, or we can go back and forth. Do you have this many things on yours?
I don't.
Okay.
I have like a fourth of that, so... Well,
I'll go through a fourth of my list, and then, you can give us some of your stuff. But I went through the DC catalog first, and the Brian Azzarello Birds of Prey series that we had covered, I think, a week or two ago, is on page 7. As you may know, Harley Quinn is now a part of this Birds of Prey team, to which some people did not like. Some people said it was because of the Birds of Prey movie that's coming out, which she is a part of the team, and maybe they're making her a part of the team because of the comic book. They're not that tied together, honestly. It's not like Disney where they're demanding that the comics do this because of the movie, but instead it's the Dio and them going, well, why not have someone that, like Harley Quinn, who's a huge sell and a huge hook for a lot of readers on this team, with Azzarello on there, who wrote Batman Damned. We're at least going to give the first couple of issues a shot. This one shot is the Joker Year of the Villain, which has been getting a lot of attention online because it's written by John Carpenter. This is on page 8 of the DC catalog, who of course also wrote the classic Halloween movie, also Escape from New York. He is well known for being a horror writer. So for him to have the Joker in his hands,
crazy.
Do not pass up on this one shot. Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil on page 9 are getting the facsimile treatment. Once again, we had the first Ra's al Ghul, which is coming out in less than a month now. But Batman 251, which is the classic cover of the Joker holding that giant card in the city of Gotham and Batman being tied to the card, I believe, or falling into the card. I don't know that issue, unfortunately. I've never seen it at the comic shop, but it's a classic with the classic ads. If you're not familiar with facsimiles, they are exact reprintings of those classic covers, and now DC is getting on that train. 2 more Joker titles that I'll go to before we'll switch over to Kelli. It is Joker / Harley Criminal Sanity. It is number 1 of 9. It is on page 11. Another DC Black Label title that's already been getting a lot of pre-orders at my store. But Jeff Lemire is also getting in on the Joker action with his 1 of 3 miniseries called The Joker Killer Smile. So lots of Joker action happening in the October month for DC Comics. And that was on page 13 if I did not mention it already.
That was a strong start for you. Your the comic books sound pretty cool. But over on my cooler side of the world, we have all the merchandise. Because that's all I want to see, the cool things. Like, you're just going to tell me what comics are coming out. I don't need to flip through all those pages. But first up on page 21, so the previews catalog is like double-sided, right? So you flip to the other side and turn it upside down, and then you have the merchandise. But on page 21 on that other side, we have some Sora action figures. So if you're a fan of Kingdom Hearts and you need more action figures, there you go. They were cool. Do you want me to keep going? You want to jump back
like
in
2 more.
to like your other...
I'm a 4th done, so...
On page 24, speaking of DC, right, we have the Batman the Animated Series Harley Quinn bust, which was really awesome. Batman the Animated Series Harley is my favorite costume of hers. She's my favorite iteration of Harley, and it was a really cool bust. It looks awesome.
I'm not a fan of the statue busts as much anymore, but I did appreciate that they did the season 1 through 3 design where she has the yellow teeth. I don't know if you remember, but eventually they whitened them up, but... Yeah, in those early episodes, just yellow teeth, and sometimes she had the ends of her horns, the little balls. Sometimes they were colored in, even in the comics, where they just, color them red, fuck it.
They were, I remember. Wasn't there one episode where they were colored in too? And I was like, why are they colored in? On page 26, I thought this was a great nod to pop culture, to what's going on right now. You have Angel, from Marvel's X-Men, I guess. I don't know, Angel. Anyway, he visits Area 51.
What?
He's carrying a little mutant girl, but she kind of looked like an alien.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, he visited Area 51 and helped freed the aliens.
Topical humor.
I crack myself up. Anyway, continue with your list.
So I guess there's a huge online community behind what I think is an anime or a TV show. I know I've carried the manga before, but it's for RWBY, which is spelled RWBY. Well, DC Comics is publishing a comic book written by Margaret Bennett with art by Mirka Andolfo, who I really, really love. And that's on page 18. So if you like RWBY, now you can have a single issue comic book on the regular with some great talent behind it. Paul Dini is back on writing at least one story in the Secrets of Sinister House #1. It's a one-shot. Usually every quarter, DC likes to do a holiday-themed comic book, and this is in time for Halloween. These usually do really well, so I'm going to have to up my numbers compared to last year. But with Paul Dini on it, I ignored the rest of the creative talent on there because I'm like, I am in. That's on page 20.
He's all the talent you need.
One that I did not see coming. It's a bi-monthly comic. It's on page 21 of the DC catalog. Superman smashes the Klan, #1 of 3.
What?
It is him fighting the Ku Klux, the KKK. And it takes place during that older time period. So it's not modern KKK. But it is also him wearing what my part-timer pointed out, the Fleischer cartoon style outfit, which may have already been inspired by something in the comics, but even the look matches that old type of outfit. And do you think this will be at all controversial when that comes out?
No. Why? Why would it be?
I don't know. I'm
like
just
you
curious.
may have like one or two people who are like, but
It's like, well, are you a KKK member?
yeah, and they'd be like, oh no.
I want them to say yeah. I'm like, well, don't buy it.
It's not for
It's
you.
not for you. Another book on here is, we talked about the Dark Multiverse What If stories. Well, you can now pre-order them in this catalog because we have the Dark Multiverse Batman Nightfall #1.
Cool.
Which is on page 22. It is What If Azrael continued being the Batman. So this is what we got. And also, Tales from the Dark Multiverse Death of Superman #1 on page 23, in which Lois Lane loses her shit after Superman dies.
Both of those are going to be fantastic.
Final one I'm going to do before we switch on over to Kelly again is the whole month for DC, the variant theme. They're kind of going back to that again, where they're going to do a theme of variants, and I don't know if it'll work, but it is deceased. So we're going to get zombified sort of looks at these characters as the final issue of Deceased comes out in October, which of course appropriate for the month. In the past, they've done like horror movie variants, I think it was, or just horror themed ones where some of the characters were the Frankenstein monster. Harley Quinn was hyena-ized at one point. I think it was like 3 years ago. But now they're sticking strictly to Deceased, so zombie themed for that month. We'll see how they do. I don't think people will be as hyped anymore for Deceased at that point, but we'll see. Some of those looked okay, but I'm also not a huge horror guy.
Next up on my list is what you can get me for Christmas. My Christmas present. Are you ready? It is a Harley statue, again from Batman the Animated Series, where she's blowing out her gun.
Are you talking about the giant statue?
I'm talking about the 68-inch, $5,200 statue.
It's a 1-in-1 scale Harley Quinn.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's amazing.
The one thing I've seen some comic shops order those, and I'm like, why? Like, I get that they're a good picture opportunity, and like maybe you can sort of market the shop a little bit better, but they're not really well made, to be honest with you. And I think this one might be one of those cases where it looks better in the catalog than what you might get if you have the expendable income, or if you have a case that's big enough to really display this and where people won't mess around with it and pose with it and possibly break it, then great. But I think it's one that most comic shops are not going to get.
No. I saw it. So it's on one of the very first, like M9, I don't know, one of the very first pages. And I saw it, but I didn't read it well enough to know that it was that big. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I would love to, get that. It's a pretty statue. Da, da, da. Moving forward, you get to the actual display page, and it's like 68 inches. And I was like, oh, shit. I couldn't have that in my house. It would scare me in the middle of the night. I'd be like, oh, fuck, there's somebody in my house.
Yeah, that's a weird one. Plus, packing it, if you were to sell it to a customer,
right?
How do they take it out? I don't know what they package it in, honestly.
A coffin? Choose person size. We also, on page 51, have inflatable Harley mallets. So you have her mallet from Suicide Squad, and then you have just a regular Harley Quinn one. But they're so cute because they're inflatable, and then you can take them to conventions and not get in trouble.
I thought about ordering those for the store, but I don't know. If I can somehow display it with the actual mallet, I don't know. Maybe then it'll sell, but I'm still on the fence.
You could get the Harley Quinn statue and have her hold it.
There you go. That might work that way.
That's a terrible idea. Don't do that.
You got another one before we go back?
Sure. On page 54, we get the toys we didn't know we needed. Jurassic World. I don't know why they're coming out now.
Are they like little dinosaurs? Little action
there's
figures?
A shit ton of dinosaurs. Like 2 pages of just dinosaurs.
Those might be resolicits on ones that...
Oh, maybe.
Every now and again, when they have extras, they'll just put it in a future catalog and say, offered again, and... Probably leftover dinos that I'm sure do okay. Not one that, again, I carry, but...
It's been like 2 years since we got that movie, right?
I think there's another one in the works.
But Leo was like not born when that movie came out.
That's true. Really? Jurassic World?
Yeah, he was... I'm pretty sure it was pre-Leo.
You might be right.
So I that's why I was very confused. But I was like, hey, dinosaurs. Buy them.
Well, back on my list, we were finishing off DC and dipping into some Marvel Comics, actually. Detective Comics number 1014 on page 47. It looks like Nora Freeze is back. She got cured or unfrozen. I'm not too sure, but we're going to find out what Peter J. Tomasi has in store.
Oh, man.
I cannot wait to see what happens.
I want the big splash page to be like, she's back.
But
and badder than ever.
I'm glad that the Scott Snyder backstory is kind of getting pushed aside, because I wasn't a fan of what they did with New 52 Mr. Freeze, in which he was more insane than a sympathetic character.
You didn't like his mohawk?
I like you, Greg Capullo, but not a fan. Back row number 41 has an amazing couple of variants, and it's on page 97. You can check them out. One of them is done by Terry and Rachel Dodson. I hope to meet them one day at a convention, but I love his style. But also, Dustin Nguyen is doing a variant for Batgirl, so we've got to get both covers.
Dustin Nguyen.
And over to the Marvel catalog on page 15, the facsimile comics, we had talked about DC's. Well, now we're getting Marvel's with Incredible Hulk number 1, which is the first appearance of Hulk, and that's back when he was gray before they switched him over to that green color. And also Amazing Fantasy number 15, which I believe is an early, if not the first appearance of Spider-Man.
Cool.
And this is that cover of him swinging with that guy on his, around his arm, that criminal, I guess, that he's carrying. So all of those reprinted in their classic look. Speaking of Spider-Man, The Amazing Mary Jane, as we covered last week, is on page 24. But there's also an Archer variant that I will be getting. It's done in a femme fatale type of style. And Archer always does an amazing job, and I try to collect as many of those covers as I can. Black Hat number 5, which I'm not reading, has a variant by Terry Dodson on page 33, in which her and Mary Jane, which is kind of the theme of the month, Mary Jane is showing up in a lot of these variants, are breaking in to steal a diamond. And I guess she sets off the alarm, and Black Cat is going out the window with a word bubble that says, I don't know what he saw in you. They've both been with Peter, but they're both in Black Cat outfits. It's really funny, and she's like, whoops. So that's really, really good. I love Terry. Fantastic Four is getting the Grand Design treatment. I picked up the X-Men ones by Ed Piskor, who has a variant on page 44, but number 1 of 2 will be coming out. Different author, and the artist worked on Transformers, did these old type of style pieces, and it's really appropriate for Fantastic Four, so I'm actually really excited for that one. Last one before we switch on over is Dragon Ball A Visual History hardcover. It's on page 441 of the regular catalog, $34.99. It is going to have every bit of Akira Toriyama promo material. It's going to have some ads that help promote Dragon Ball, the manga, the TV show, and it's all in this dust cover premium hardcover, and it looks awesome. I'm thinking I'm probably going to order it, if anything, for us at least.
Is Vegeta in there?
Oh, I'm sure he is.
Buy
There's
it.
no way he's not in there.
Buy it! That was my Super Saiyan buy it.
What do you got on your end?
On page 61, that's the pop vinyl page, they had a really cool one. It was Batman and Gordon from Batman Begins. Did you see that with his little bat symbol there?
There was a Batman Begins Gordon?
Yes!
Is it? Oh, man, I missed that one.
But they're pop vinyls.
Sure,
they're little whatever. Yeah, they're so cool, but it's like a big thing, right? It's in honor of the anniversary, so it's both of them with a bat signal.
So they've been doing Batman Moments Funko Pops. They did one for Keaton one, and which he's punching the Joker. They did one for the 66 TV show, and I didn't know they did one for Batman Begins. I'm really excited. I hope we get one for the Ben Affleck one too.
On page 61. You should check it out. On page 63, we have a whole bunch of Pez dispensers. Pez is coming back, I guess.
They always do those, but are they the Funko ones?
No.
All right.
They're regular ones, but they have Harley and the Joker, right? And I was like, cool, Harley and Joker. But Harley is Batman the Animated Series, and Joker is Suicide Squad.
Those sound like resolicits.
So I was very confused why they were together.
They have extras somewhere.
Somewhere. They found a box someplace. On page 70 and 71, we have all the Dragon Ball Z things, but nothing cool this time.
Actually, I have something on my list from that page. I like the Super Saiyan Bardock statue, which isn't really a part of continuity, but I believe he showed up in the video game first, in which they did a what if scenario. And I think in that story, Bardock goes Super Saiyan and he kills Frieza and saves Planet Vegeta. So they did a statue of that Bardock. And I love Bardock. I'm sure you like him more than Goku.
Yeah. Fuck Goku.
Jeez.
I don't like Goku. I think he's a terrible character.
I also have on page 69 the Toy Story set statue from the stage. So these are a little bit more now. They're $36.99 and they're larger. So it's the claw coming down and getting the aliens. Yep. And I think it's Buzz Lightyear and Woody controlling the claw or something. But it's a nice piece. And if they're larger, I know that these stage statues have slowed down a lot for us. I don't think I'm going to reorder them once those sell. But these bigger ones, I might give them a try with this first bit of Toy Story. And I think Toy Story, even though the movie has come and gone, the latest one, it's still a sellable piece of merch.
On page 99, they have a Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask wedding something. I don't know. They're cute and they're a little chibi and they're sitting there in their little wedding outfits.
I also have Harry Potter tin signs, which are on page 116. They're $10.99. I have a lot of Universal Studios employees that do live in the area and they shop in the store. Every time we have Harry Potter merch that they can't get at the parks, they will buy it at the store. So these are ones that we are going to try out. They're really neat. They've got the Harry Potter wanted posters. They've got the, what is the triangle one? The Deathly Hallows is on there. I think one of them is the 3 3/4 sign that is at the train station.
The 9 3/4.
They're really neat.
I'm going to tell them that you don't know what they really are.
Go ahead.
They'll still buy it.
I also have a pair of doormats on page 122 and page 124.
Stop! I wrote that one down too!
Each one is $19.99. We have Starfleet Command from Star Trek and also the Legend of Zelda Boss Key doormat. We already have a Spider-Man one for the store, but if we hadn't, I would want one of these for sure. They are really neat. Get one
for our house.
You think so? Don't we have a doormat already though?
Get rid of it. It just says welcome in a bunch of languages. It's lame.
All right, I might get. Which one do you want? The Starfleet or
I didn't see
Zelda?
The Starfleet. I only saw the Zelda one, and the Zelda one was really cool.
Both are kind of colorful, though. I don't think they'd go with the house, to be honest.
Whatever. The sun will bleach it out soon.
Maybe.
I also have on page 122, doing a little bit of backtracking, a Death Star waffle maker.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So you pour in your batter, and it prints it to look like the Death Star.
Do you have a price by any chance?
I don't off the top of my head. I'd have to go back. I mean, you can look it up too. Page 122.
I have 2 items left on my list. Mass Effect Agent pin sets.
Yes.
They are $19.99. It's on page 124. So you've got the Renegade pin. You've got the N7 logo. I'm ordering that. I've got to get those pins. I miss Mass Effect so much. I love that trilogy.
I know.
And the final one that I'm going to carry for the store, it's $46. It's on page 124. It is the Legend of Zelda Master Sword Light. So it's kind of a lamp and it glows and you have the sword sitting on whatever bit of concrete, I guess it sits on before you pull out the sword. And that's one that even the box looks good. So if we can display it somewhere, I think I'll order 3 or 4 of those for customers that will definitely move, especially right before the holidays.
The last thing that I have, and I apologize, I don't know the page number because I wrote down 12K. So I don't know what happened. It's after 124, but it is a Donkey Kong cookie jar. So it looks like the little barrel has got the DK on the front. $40, but you can put your cookies right in there.
Yeah, I think that's page 125 or 126, because I remember that being right after the Legend of Zelda sword. They also had a Yoshi egg.
Yeah, I saw that. I forgot what the Yoshi egg was for. I just like the Donkey Kong barrel.
Yeah, that was really cool. And that's another one that I'm like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's DK. Who knows? But those are our previews, catalog highlights, and a lot of great stuff coming out 2 to 3 months from now and beyond. So if you get a catalog at your local comic shop, those were the page numbers, and you can order all of these and add them to your subscription if you have one at your LCS. But let's head into the final part of today's podcast, which we have a listener question and a lot of neat stuff of what happened with Pal Kelli and I this week. It is the Brocat Block.
We've been spieling it all month. The 2019 Podcast Awards are here. The voting period has closed. We should know by the next podcast if we have been nominated.
So thank you all so much if you voted for us at podcastawards.com. We were aiming at getting nominated for the third year in a row under Games and Hobbies, and for the first time ever under People's Choice. So, as you mentioned, you'll probably see it on Twitter before the next podcast, but hopefully we rallied through once again, thanks to all of you, and the Brokehead Corps came through, and maybe the third time is the charm, and we can win one of these this year. But fingers crossed, and we're always doing our best to provide you with the best show we can every single week.
This month, we're also doing a very special giveaway. It is the Shazam Digital Movie Giveaway Contest.
This is courtesy of Twitter user at DCUFanFam. Thank you so much for providing the Brokehead Corps with this opportunity. All you have to do to enter is head on over to speakpipe.com/thereasonsimBroke. And in under 90 seconds, let us know what your favorite DCEU moment was and why. You have until August 25th to submit that at speakpipe.com/thereasonsimBroke, and we will randomly choose one of the entries to get this digital version of the Shazam movie for free. It's a free giveaway. Let a friend know.
This week, Daniel put out a call on our Twitter if anybody had any questions for us, and Bobby came through.
As you heard in the Patreon shoutout earlier, his Twitter username is @CubanSlim. He asked, quote, "You have just been selected to write the next big comic for DC Black Label. Dan DiDio and our friend Jeff Johns inform you of this and its parameters. A very Batman White Knight story, however, new characters. There's a catch. There are some characters you cannot use. Batman, Joker, Catwoman, Harley Quinn, Ra's al Ghul, Man-Bat, and Sinestro are all off limits. Pitch your story, short synopsis, and pick your artist. Pick an artist that isn't your favorite. The idea here is working outside your comfort zone." End quote. It's like Bobby knows us, all these characters.
Right, but first of all, why he want me working outside my comfort zone?
He essentially doesn't want you picking Dustin Nguyen. That's right, or Paul Dini. And I had to think on this one. I do have a couple of answers, though.
Go ahead. Let me hear them.
I don't think it's been done before. I know of no comic that is titled Mogo. I want them to do a Black Label title, 3 issues long, no dialogue. So just artwork. Obviously, it's still written because you got to tell the story without any dialogue. And I want it to be written by Cullen Bunn, who did a great Sinestro it was an ongoing for a little bit, but I enjoyed his take on Sinestro, and I feel like he knows the Green Lantern Corps very well. Since I can't pick Jeff Johns, I will go with Cullen Bunn instead. And art by Doug Mankey, who did the New 52 run of Green Lantern, in which Sinestro and Hal Jordan were buddy cops in space. Tell a Mogo story, and I don't know what synopsis you could tell, maybe even just him being in space and helping out the Corps when they're needed. I think little stories of what goes on in his planet, the little creatures in his world, and how he can sort of influence them, help them out, what kind of personality he has based on his actions on his own little world, would go a long way in telling us what will he has. How is he a Green Lantern? I want to see the will in that story without dialogue.
All right. Interesting. I'm on board. I would read it. Just him floating around space.
Do you have an entry as well?
I have like half an entry. So I think interpreted this a little differently than you did, because he said kind of like a White Knight-esque story, right? So somebody coming into Gotham and trying to clean it up.
Okay,
is the way that I interpreted that,
maybe
right?
An inversion of...
Correct. The same that we saw with the Joker, right? He's typically a bad guy, but now he's a good guy trying to save Gotham. So my mind immediately went to the Riddler, because he was not on the list of people
That's true.
that I couldn't choose. But I feel of a lot of Batman's villains, right? The Riddler is incredibly intelligent and would probably be able to fix up the city, right? Use that intelligence and be like, no, this is the direction that we need to go. I don't know who's going to write it, but Dustin Nguyen's going to draw it. So take that, Bobby.
You could also get away from it by having him under like a fake name. And as he said before on Instagram when he told us, my name also rhymes with a song, Dust in the Wind. So that could be another, like that could be his artist name.
Perfect. Dust in the Wind. And his art just looks exactly like Dustin Nguyen.
He does his own colors too, so that's his colorist name.
His colorist name would just be like Dust.
Pretty much. The other story that I had, the pitch, I don't have a synopsis yet, but I think you can do another, if it's a Black Label book, you can do 3 to 9 issues depending on how many short stories you want to tell. But I want Tom King and Mitch Gerrits, that duo right there. So obviously the art is going to be by Mitch, since they like to have that lesser known character and kind of bring him into the spotlight. Give us a Space Cabbie story.
Oh,
DC
my
Black
God,
Label,
Space
Cabbie, all the crazy shit he sees going throughout space. Have a cameo by Mogo as well in there. Like, have them cross paths. Do that first ever crossover of Black Label titles. And I think that'd be a neat story. I know Tom King would figure out some weird 9-panel thing to put together, but there's, I think, a lot of stories to be told with Space Cabbie. We saw some part of it in Justice League Action in that short 15-minute story. It wasn't quite what you could do with the comics, but imagine if you have pages of issues to tell, you can do a comedy style, or if you don't want to have Tom King, you get Mark Russell, who does comedy well. He did Snagglepuss, he did the Flintstones. Put him on a Space Cabbie comic book, and you will find some political satire in there. You can have Darkseid taking a ride at some point, and that can be a Nagalus.
Why is Darkseid in a cab?
Who the fuck knows? It's a Mark Russell book. Why not?
Like, does One Night Stand call an Uber, and they're like, okay, go home, Darkseid. See you later.
You can do a lot of fun stuff with
I would read it.
So those are my two, Mogo and Space Cabbie.
Those are better than mine. I honestly read the tweet at like 5 a.m. while I was getting ready for work, and I'm like, Riddler. And that's as far as I got.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bobby. And hopefully DC isn't listening, because I want to see these told.
Right.
Don't want them not using them. This week, what went on with Palpa Kelly and I finally got in the order of the Artgerm variants for Detective Comics 1000, and these were unfortunately the only ones available at the time that they went up on his website through Artgerm Collectibles. But I did not mind, because they are nice pieces. They are CGC 9.8 guarantee graded, and they're signed by Artgerm, so they got that signature series on there. But there's the two versions. There's the one which is traditional Artgerm art, the stuff that he's really known for. You have the Gotham City Sirens, but also Batman in the background. That's the one that I ended up splitting with Brian, who's a longtime Brocat, and he wanted that particular variant, which worked out at the time, because he's like, oh, I put out on Twitter, man, the only one available is the 2, and I want the one that's the more Golden Age, Bronze Age style Artgerm piece. And he's like, oh, I want the more traditional one. So I was like, all right, let's split this. And I was able to snag a pair, and they finally came in. I know they were delayed because they had some issues with CGC, but they shipped this week and they look gorgeous. The one that I wanted is the more flat art style. They have the gold banner of classic Detective Comics on there. Batman is not in it, but that's because they put the banner on top to make it look like that classic book. But you still get the Gotham City Sirens on there, and it's signed by Artgerm. So I was really happy to see that arrive, and they're beautiful, beautiful books.
I got some cool stuff in too. A bunch of clothes.
I'm guessing work related?
Yeah, work related. So the company that I work for has a special shop with clothes that you can wear to work. So I bought some of those. I was like, yeah, let's see how they work out. They fit great. They weren't too expensive. If I ruin them, whatever. So I did get those in. I had a pretty interesting week at work. So I'm back at the store that I'm going to be at for a while, which was great because I walked in and everybody that I work with was like, we missed you. Like, it's great to have you back here. You know, we're so excited that you're back working with us. You're never allowed to leave again. And I was like, oh, that's great. But I did have an unfortunate situation where somebody had to call in, right? And they're texting me this the night before. And they're like, but don't worry, this person comes in later, but they're going to come in early for me to open. And I was like, perfect, right? Because I'm not opening. I don't want to open. I was on like an admin day all day, so I was just going to get all my projects done, and it was going to be great. Well, then I get a call at 5 a.m. saying that person no-showed. So I had to go in, and I was frustrated about it, right? Because now I'm getting up an hour and a half early to go into work, to work for 5 hours, whereas before I would have had that 5 hours to get projects done. So now I'm behind, and there was a giant order, and blah, 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 blah. So I go in, but I'm like my chipper self and talking to people and asking how everything is and working the drive-thru. Well, like 5 hours later, right? This guy comes, he's in the lobby and I'm changing a trash can or something. And he goes, I just want you to know you really made my day this morning. And I was like, me? What did I do? And he goes, I came through the drive-thru and you were just so nice and like asking me how my day was and the sun wasn't even up and all this stuff. And I started talking to him. This man fucking trained owls for Harry Potter. And like, he was so nice. And I was like, your job is so cool. And he's like, yeah, I got pigeons in my car right now. We're going up to Atlanta for Ozark so that I can like have my pigeons be a part of that. I was like, oh my God, you're so cool.
Is that a TV show, Ozark?
Yeah. I don't know what it's based off of. I've seen it around. Is that the one that everybody tried to get taken off Netflix, but it's not even on Netflix?
No idea.
Anyway, for those of you who know what Ozark is, I met the man who trained the pigeons that you're going to see soon. And if you know Harry Potter, you train the owls too.
And that's one thing you told me. You were texting me this, and I'm like, did he have an owl with him? And that's how I pictured him. You're like, no, but he had pigeons. And I'm like, oh, all right. At least he's pigeons the Birdman.
Are okay. Yeah. Yeah. But he's really cool. Apparently he comes in all the time. And so, he was talking to me and he goes, how long have you worked here? And I go, 3 months. And he goes, no, not in this store, like for the company. And I was like, 3 months. So it was pretty cool. Like it's nice when you get that confirmation, right? That you're doing something right for the customers. Because at the end of the day, what I do, what you do, it's all for the customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Anything else that you want to wrap up the week with?
Leo has a cold and it's sad.
Yeah, I'm hoping on the upswing of this cold. He has a little bit of a runny nose. He has yet to get an ear infection, which is nice. I know he's gotten a couple of colds in the past, but hopefully he gets through this. He got this cold from your dad, right?
Yeah, my dad had a cold and they were watching him for the weekend. And my dad's like Leo's best friend. So dad's like, realistically, I knew I couldn't keep him away from me. He wanted to snuggle. He wanted to be on top of me. And there was just no avoiding it, right? Like he's gotten less colds than he would if he was in a daycare, which is great. But yeah, runny nose. So it's a man cold. He's just being over dramatic.
Lots of water for the little guy, and we'll see if one of us catches it. Who knows?
We're not. I'm already telling you, neither of us are going to catch this cold.
We'll know for sure next week.
Neither of us are going to. And I need like a big present when I'm right.
We almost forgot. The last thing we're going to talk about in this week is I got to play some Fire Emblem, The Three Houses. That released. It's on the Nintendo Switch. I'm playing it on the big screen. Some initial impressions about it. It's definitely meant to be played on the little screen on the controller because on the big screen, it's not a nice looking game. It looks like a 3DS title, honestly. The graphics are not great, but the graphics are the last thing I look at anyway. The story is okay. It's a departure from the other Fire Emblem games, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. They try to do something different each time. But for this, you are essentially you're at Hogwarts. You're a teacher. And then you go out on skirmishes. You keep the bandits away from the houses, which are made up of these 3 different nations that you are then probably going to have to go at war with in the future. I know at some point in the game, reviewers were saying that it takes a 5-year time jump. And that's where some of these students that you were training are now going to be older, more experienced. And you pick a house or a nation that you're going to train at. So it's got some replayability because you can later on start it over and choose different students. But I know that you can actually influence which students join your party based on your actions too. So you can get some people from different nations on there. But so far, yeah, it is classic Fire Emblem for the most part. You can choose the normal setting, which is where your characters don't permanently die. Or you can go with classic Fire Emblem, in which you can have immediate death and you have to start over if you want to not have anyone die at that point. The map layout, I'm not a huge fan of, but I'm getting used to it. And the day-to-day relationship stuff, I'm sort of getting the hang of too. It's not right away my favorite Fire Emblem for sure, but I'm hoping that as I go on and continue it, I can really get into the story and characters a lot more.
Which house are you going to choose?
I already chose the one with the silver-haired lady. I think it's the more
red
noble.
House.
Is it the red house?
Yes.
Okay, that's the one I chose.
She's in the red house. She's the red house, and then you got the dark-haired guy in the yellow house, and then somebody's in a blue house.
And that's the blonde-haired guy, right?
Yes.
They're like the blue lions. There's the blue barracudas, the golden monkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones I just ended up going with her house. The other two guys, I'm like, these guys can bicker and eventually fall in love with themselves, I'm sure.
with themselves or each other?
Each other. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay. They're like kind of perverts. Can you fall in love with your students?
Probably. I mean, it's Fire Emblem. I'm sure you can.
I feel very uncomfortable.
That's why there's
right
a time
now.
jump. 5-year time jump.
Oh, okay. So then it's okay.
Exactly.
Then they're not underage anymore.
Right.
And then you could be like, I always loved you. And then it can be weird again.
Yeah, I wonder if you can romance the queen lady that's in the game. I don't think you can because I'm sure they're going to be villains in the end, but it'd be a neat story if you can romance the villain.
Well, in the last one, I didn't think you could romance your brother, but there I was.
Yeah, and they explained it like, oh, you're not actually related.
Right, but you didn't know that until you romanced him all the way.
That's true.
So the whole time I'm romancing him feeling like extremely guilty and weird.
Yeah, but it's in that Game of Thrones era, back then.
Really?
Whatever.
That was okay?
I guess.
Okay.
Until they figured out that your kids come out fucked up, I guess.
Right. Super weird.
So those are my impressions. I'm sure I will have a little bit more as I hopefully have more time to really dive into it. But so far, I would say, yeah, if you're a Fire Emblem fan, it is worth getting. Maybe not right away, but I love Fire Emblem so much that I will buy these titles on day one because I want to see more of them. I think it was Fire Emblem Awakening that they were saying was going to be the final title, even though we had gotten that revival after Smash Brothers Melee, but it ended up being such a hit that it went, all right, let's do more. And now we're at the three houses. So more Fire Emblem. I'm happy for it. I love the series. It's one of my favorites from Nintendo. So I am there to play it and buy it on day one.
But with that, guys, we can wrap up our podcast for this week.
Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke and at Kelli. And you can always ask us questions and we will answer them on the next show. You can also submit it through speakpipe.com. But honestly, thank you guys so much for last month being our strongest month in the podcast's history. Thank you for telling a friend, a family member, and for spreading the word. And of course, for being subscribed each week.
And for each of you who voted for us for the podcast awards, again, thank you so much. We should know on the next show whether we made it in.
So thank you so much, Brocat Core, for joining us yet again. I am Sailor Daniel.
And I am Kelli.
And Brocat Core, all will be well. Why no Emperor this week?
Because sometimes emperors need a break. Maybe I just want to go to the supermarket and not get hounded. Like, Emperor, save my house.